Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you happen to be today. This is Scott Clayson. I'm the Director of Marketing here at TimeSolv, and you have joined our Wednesday webinar, where we show you some of the tips and tricks to get the most out of TimeSolv. I see people are streaming into the webinar room right now, so we will go ahead and pause for another minute or so, let everybody else settle in. So I'll be jumping back in another minute or so. Thanks, everybody. All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Once again, for those of you that are just joining us, my name is Scott Clayson. I'm the Director of Marketing here at TimeSolv. And this is our monthly Wednesday webinar that we do the second Wednesday of every month at this same time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And we thank you for joining us here today as we take a look at some of the features of TimeSolv that you maybe were not aware of. There might be new features we've released in the last month, something that you may have learned when you first onboarded with TimeSolv, however long ago that was. And it's a feature that you maybe didn't even remember that we had, and is actually something useful that you could use now that you weren't necessarily using 2, 3, 4 years ago, whatever the case may be. So that's what's on the agenda for today, or well, I take that back. This is not the agenda yet, but this is what will the purpose of our webinar every month here. So that being said, I do want to jump right in and take a look at the topics that we'll be covering this month. Again, we send out, all you should be receiving a tip of the week email that goes out pretty much every Monday. Sometimes it goes out on Tuesdays, that covers various new features or features you may have forgotten about every week. And then we do a summary of that with this Wednesday webinar. So this month, we're going to cover a couple of different topics here. Several of these actually were, I don't think they were in the tip of the week emails. There's some, I kind of cherry picked some topics that I don't think we've covered in quite a while. So we will cover these in order. The first is a feature that came out in TimeSolv, gosh, I want to say maybe 18 months ago, roughly. And that is creating and setting up custom fields that can be used for your contacts. It can be used at the client level, at the matter level. And you can also create at the matter level, groups of custom fields that can be applied. So we'll talk about that. I know we haven't covered that topic in a while. Then the next one, I know I've talked about maybe once or twice over the last few years, maybe the last year, I guess, is we know that there's a grand tradition in the legal world of lawyers dictating things that end up being written up as briefs, or in this case, dictating what become time entries. And we stumbled across a great extension in Chrome, for those of you that use Chrome, that allow you to use your computer's microphone to dictate information into your time entries. And hopefully, if you use TimeSolv's mobile app, you leverage the ability to dictate into your phone, with very good speech recognition on both iPhone and Androids, to create descriptions of your time or expense entries just right from your phone. This is essentially doing the same thing, but just doing it in your web browser. So we'll cover how to go about doing that and how it works. I'll discuss that. And then our next topic will be something we have covered in the past, but again, it's a good reminder, is you do have the ability to copy your matters, and actually it's just matters and time entries, not clients, copying your matters and time entries into creating either new time entries or in the case, or matters, or in the case when it comes to time entries, you do have the ability to move a time entry completely from one client and matter to another client and matter. So want to cover how you go about doing that today. And then our last topic, I wanted to spend a lot of time here, but this is a new feature that was requested a lot. And that is the ability now to assign any billing template to a matter that is set as the billing arrangement of fixed fee. For those of you that do fixed fee invoicing, there were some restrictions previous to this new rollout. And this just came out a week or two ago. I think at the end of July, it came out, this new feature. So we will discuss that as well. I don't anticipate this might be a little bit of a shorter webinar today. I think we'll probably be able to get through it in definitely less than 45 minutes. And as we are recording this, so I will send out an email with a link where you can view this as you see fit. And we also always post this to the TimeSolv YouTube channel. If you're not familiar, if you don't subscribe to the TimeSolv YouTube channel, I encourage you to do that. Feel free to use the Q&A link that you should see at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions along the way. I may not get to the question immediately, but I will make sure that we spend time answering any questions that come up. And as for those of you that have been here for a long time, I do see some familiar names on the list of attendees. If I cannot answer the question here during the webinar, I will be sure to find out the answer, and I will report the answer in the email follow-up that will be sent with the link to the recording. All right. I think that covers all of the housekeeping items here. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about custom fields in TimeSolv. So there we go. Let's get over into the TimeSolv application. We know that a lot of users of TimeSolv basically can use it as almost your CRM. And CRM, for those of you that aren't familiar, customer relationship management software. Salesforce is probably the most popular one out there in the world, but you could really use anything. Even really Outlook can be used as a CRM. It's just a place where you hold information about the clients or customers that you interact with. And in this case, a lot of people will choose to use TimeSolv for that function. And so we understood, and there was a lot of desire for people to be able to store custom information about their clients or their matters in TimeSolv that was beyond the defaults that come out of the box with TimeSolv. So we created the ability to set up custom fields and assign them to your contacts, like I said, your clients or your matters. Where you go about doing that is over here under clients and settings. And I'm assuming you guys can all see my screen okay. If not, please make sure you put something in the chat or the Q&A, but I believe I'm sharing my screen okay. But under clients and settings, you have this row of tabs to allow you to set defaults for a variety of different things, including the custom fields tab here. So when we click that, you'll see that you have 3 types of custom fields that can be created and assigned. One is for clients, another is for contacts, the third is for matters, and then you can create matter groups. So it's pretty self-explanatory that any custom fields that you create for your clients will appear at the client level. Any custom fields you create for your contacts will obviously be under your contacts, and then matters and so on. And then matter groups I'll tackle in just a second. So as you can see, I have a couple of custom fields already set up. I have the order in which I want them to appear in my client area. And what we want to do if we want to create a new custom field is come over here and do new custom field. Obviously, you want to name it. And then these are the different types of custom fields that you can create. And you can see there is a large variety. You can do one that will hold a currency type, a specific date, a date range, a date with time, a date and time range, a drop-down list, hold an email address, just a single numeric or just a numeric value, single line text, or a larger text area. So choose whichever type of field you'd like to add. You can give it a default value if it's a numeric or a currency, or if it's date, same thing. You can give it a default value if you'd like. You can give it a description so that people can, other users will understand what this custom field is for. And then in this case, the order is already set to 5 here. You can see over here in the grayed out area, we have 4 custom fields already set up. We can actually set it where if you want this to be the first thing, or let's say we want it to be in order number 2, when I create the name, and I'll call it field webinar, something really creative, I hit save, and notice that field for webinar is now set at 2. So is that other one. So we're going to change that other one, and that can be the order of, I want it to be 5. Or no, excuse me, 6. So you can see it's dropped down here. So this is how you can order things. Sometimes you could recommend that you could do odd numbers, and then if you want to create a new one, then put in its place. You don't have to renumber everything. You can do it in that fashion. That's for clients. That's for contacts. For matters, this is where you can create your default custom fields and these matter groups. In this case, when you're talking about matters, when you want to figure out the order of how you want the fields to appear, you can just simply drag and drop to reorder them. We don't have that functionality under clients and contacts right now. And as you can see, I've created a matter group called child custody. And I'll show you how you can assign that to a matter as you see fit here in just a second. Over here under matter groups is and create a new custom field group. What that allows you to do then, when you create a new custom field for a matter, when you go to create it, you'll notice you'll have the option of which group do you want to assign this custom field to. And then everything else is the same as under a client or a contact. So if you do, this is really helpful depending on the type of law your firm might practice. You probably have a variety of different practice areas that you specialize in, or whatever the work may be. And so you could create custom field groups based on that, some things you need to know that are specific to that area that you work in. So in this case, I use one child custody, let's say. Here's some fields I always want to collect. Maybe it's birth dates or whatever, who knows? It could be whatever you want it to be. So when you are over actually at a client level or matter level, let's see how you would interact with your custom field. So I'm going to just open up my client here, Best Buy, and you can see the tab here, custom fields, and here's those field 1, 2, 3, 4 that I created in the field for webinar. Okay, and so now I could just fill these out as needed and hit save, and they're always going to be there, available as just information that can be accessed by anybody. When we go to the specific matters, let's just open up this test matter here, and I go to my custom fields. You can see I have my default here that's appearing, but I could add the custom field group that's available. In this case, I only have one, child custody. And I could say, yeah, I want to add that group to the matter. And so it'll add those fields now for child custody, or I can unassign them. So if you have a variety of different matter group fields, you can then assign them to the matter as you see fit. And that's about it. We don't have the ability to run any reports off of custom fields at this point in time. But it is a great way to house some unique information that you as a firm or a business want to collect at the client level, at the matter level, or when you're accessing and viewing your contacts. So when I'm looking at a contact here, here's a custom field that, you know, I have assigned to collect for contacts. You can see it's just another tab here. Any questions on custom fields? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about our next topic then, and that is our dictation extension in Chrome. This is a fantastic little tool, I think, that actually was just one of our support people stumbled upon about a year or so ago. So we know that dictation is a great way to quickly fill out, especially when you're talking about descriptions of your time entries. So if you're not familiar with extensions that are available in Chrome as your web browser, there's just hundreds and hundreds of them that you can access and install. And I have a whole bunch, as you can see here, that I use for a variety of different things. One of them is a screenshot tool, for example. So if I wanted to take screenshots, I just click here and it allows me to, you know, take a screenshot. I have to, actually, it's new, but, you know, here's the sort of thing where I could say, hey, I want to take a screenshot. I want to capture, I can do some recording on the browser. So that's one example. HubSpot or CRM, their extension allows me to do things without having to go into HubSpot. There's a whole bunch of them here. Here's Zoom has one. Evernote, if you're familiar with Evernote. So, but the one that we're using is called voice in voice typing. And what it allows you to do is something extraordinarily simple. When I'm ready to dictate something in any one of the fields in TimeSolv, and it doesn't have to be TimeSolv, it could be anywhere, in any place in your browser window that you have open. But more importantly, I'm going to, or what you have to do is make sure that you are have your cursor and you've, you know, selected a field here that can be have text inserted into it. So as you can see, I've inserted my cursor here in the description field for the time entry. All I need to do then, if I want to dictate this time entry, is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to turn this on. I'm just going to click on it. It's going to turn red. And then you'll see it'll start recording everything that I say. Conference call with client to discuss court strategy, period. And there it is. You can even do it with your hours. I'm going to put my cursor in the hours. 2.75. Great little tool. So you can see when I click on it, it turns red. And then that's when you can start speaking and you can see, you know, let's do this again here. We determined the best course of strategy is to go with a plea deal, period. Let's make sure the judge is aware of our overture to that motion, period. And again, you might have to do, it looks like a capitalized one letter there. I mean, it's great. So awesome. That's great. Let's determine, like, okay, now how do I, you know, the next obvious thing is, how do I get this extension? How do I get any extension? If you're not familiar with Chrome extensions, it's really simple. Open up a new window in Chrome and just simply type in Chrome Store, something to that effect, and it'll get you to the Google Chrome Web Store. Go ahead and open it up. And this is where you'll see the hundreds, thousands probably, of various different extensions that can be added on to Google Chrome. In this case, once you're here, where this search area here is, you want to just start typing voice in, excuse me, oh, did I have that right? No, voice in voice typing. Yeah, I did have that right. Kind of panicked. Voice in voice typing. And then you'll see that should be the first one that comes up. If you go ahead and click on it, it'll say install to Chrome. Mine says remove from Chrome, obviously, because I already have it, but install to Chrome. Then it'll install it. And then if you don't see it immediately over here where I have all these other extensions, you can simply click on this little blob thing here. It'll show you all the extensions that you have. Find the voice in voice one, and then click on the pin, and it'll bring it up and put it onto your toolbar here. That's the way you can have access to it and see it in your extensions here. So, and again, it's obviously it's disabled for this particular site, but in TimeSolv, you can see it's enabled. So once again, you go to the Chrome Web Store, type in voice and voice typing, install it, and then make sure that you pin it to your bookmark bar here, or your URL bar, web address bar. I don't know what the official name is. and that's where you can have access to it. Oh, good question for me. Is there a fee? No, this is free. This is absolutely a free tool. Almost every Chrome extension I've ever used, the only time there's a fee is if the actual tool that you're using, like HubSpot, for example, that's our CRM. Yes, we pay to use HubSpot. The extension itself is free. This awesome screenshot extension that I use for a lot of things is free. They have a version that you can upgrade to that's paid if you'd like. I've never needed to necessarily use it. So most extensions will be free, but a lot of them might be associated with paid services that are behind it that are more robust. But this one for sure is free. Any other questions about that extension? Really handy little tool. Okay, let's get on with our next topic, copying matters, clients, and time entries. And it's actually just matters, like I said. Let's start with time entries. We've had this come up more than a few times in our support staff that tell us that they have a customer of ours who needs to move or change or do something in bulk with a large volume of time entries. They may have all been created under the wrong matter. Maybe it was the same client, but the wrong matter. Or they have a whole bunch of time entries that it'd be really convenient if they just copied those same exact time entries over into and apply to a whole new client or matter. So let's walk through how you go about doing that in TimeSolv. If you go under the time area here in the main navigation and come down to search, this is hopefully a place you all, if you're not familiar with, you should be. It's an easy, fast way to search and find various time entries without having to actually go through your calendar that shows you, your time entries by day. That would be very laborious. So you go under time and search. And there's all sorts of, by the way, you're going to first see it here with, it looks like this, where you can enter any search criteria. So enter the name of the client, the matter, the professional, whatever the case may be, enter that search criteria here and a date range. Or under the more options here, then you can select specifically, your professionals, or specifically a client and matter, what the status is. If the time, this is really convenient. I know I've shown this before. We've had this come up. This is why we instituted this. So this is a bit of an aside, but it's been very frustrating for billing managers, especially if they go to create draft invoices and they're told they can't create a draft for a particular matter because it says there's a timer running somewhere. Somebody forgot to turn off a timer. So this is a convenient way of saying, show me every time entry that has a running timer still. And it would show, in this case, there's nothing to show, but it would show you those time entries that still have a timer running. Odds are they're probably sitting at like 100+ hours, or who knows how long, but it's a great way of finding those time entries that had a timer running that never got turned off. And of course, billable type, you can also search in that regard as well. In this case, I'm going to say, okay, gosh, I want to find all the time entries I've done for client A, matter H for all time. So if I want to do it for all time, I can leave this date range blank. I'm going to hit search. And so here's all of these time entries that I've created, 13 records it looks like for this particular matter. A lot of them looks like we're in 2020. And they've all been billed, and that's great. But I know I want to move some of these or copy some of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the time entries that I want to copy or move. You can select them all by checking this box here, or you can just select specific ones. And then once you've selected any one of these, this little icon over in the upper right corner, the copy move icon, is going to light up. Notice how when nothing is selected, it's grayed out. As soon as I select one or more, it turns on. I hit copy move. Here's where I can say, okay, I want to copy or move this, and I want to have it be from, and choose your professional, choose the date that you want these entries to be created on, select the matter, if there's any task codes, subtask codes, and so on. And then you can either copy them, so they won't do anything to these existing client A, matter H time entries, or you could actually move these time entries to the new client and matter. Okay, so that's how you can move or copy time entries. For clients and matters, excuse me, for just matters, I keep saying clients and matters, but it's for matters. If you want to, and this is really, again, handy when it comes to the different areas of law or different projects that you do frequently. And let's just say for estate planning, let's use that as an example. You may have a variety of different customized things you do for this, you did for this particular estate plan. You know, maybe you have a specific task code group. You've specifically called it family law, you know, as the matter type. This is a custom field that we've created. Maybe your payment settings, you set a specific way, or your invoice settings, whatever the case may be. But it's something that you'll be doing every time you bring on a new client that you're doing an estate plan with. So you don't want to have to redo that every time. Maybe it's the rate buy, you do a different rate, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. Here's the point though. When you want to, you have your matter, it's almost like a template. If you want to copy that to another client and create a new matter with the same exact settings, when you're viewing that matter here, you'll notice this icon over here, copy matter. So you're going to click on that. What client do you want it for? It'll, I got to turn off my dash lane. It's my, sorry about that. This is my password, insertion of password that I just don't want it to do that right now. So you can select the client you want to copy this matter to. Here's a list of all my clients. I can give it a new name, and we can call it, you know, estate planning. And I'm going to do that for Tim Couch. Now you can choose, if you notice, you have all of these various categories, which matches up to all the tabs along the normal matter screen. You can do copy over everything that you see, or you can select. And so just copy over the contacts, or just copy over the matter plan that I have, or just the things that are in the general settings, whatever the case may be. I'm going to select all right here. I'm going to hit copy. And now when I go back over to my clients and matters and I search for Tim Couch, here is estate planning. And it's going to have all the settings that the other matter had. Very convenient, like I said, to be able to copy over all the settings. So you could create a dummy client and matter that are just like almost like a template of all the various different types of areas of law you practice in which you might customize some of the matter fields that you see here. I do have a question that came in pretty early on before I ever got to this topic. A client requires each of their entities to be invoiced separately under the entity name. Can I copy one client to another new client and then change the name and project name? Yeah, I think you should then, based on what you just saw me do. If you have a different client name for this, you know, so each entity has their own sort of client name. Once you have one matter, yeah, you can certainly copy over the matter information. Now, it's not going to necessarily copy over, you know, the time entries. That's another issue. If you want to do the time entries, you saw how you could do that. copy time entries from one matter to another. So you could do, I think what I just showed you hopefully can solve your issue. Yes, you can copy over the contacts and the address, as long as when you say copy matter and you make sure that contacts is one of these selected categories, it's going to copy over the address and the contact. Yeah. If you have any detailed questions on how to go about doing this, you certainly can work with our support team, who can walk you through if you're having any questions or issues. But what you just described, I think you should be able to handle. And again, hopefully it makes it a lot more convenient and easy. If you do have, got to invoice separately to a different entity name, if that's your main issue. Okay. Any other questions on copying either matters or time entries? All right. So finally, our last topic is the ability to assign different billing templates to matters that are designated as fixed fee. So let's step back a second and give you a refresher on billing templates. So under your invoice settings in TimeSolv, you have a tab called Flexible Templates. Out of the box, when you started at TimeSolv, there's 3 default templates that came with the system: fixed fee time and expense, fixed fee time only, or flexible billing template. You can copy and create as many different billing templates as you'd like. But previously, before this upgrade, if you had, let's take this estate plan one that we just created. If you had a matter that you came into the invoice settings here and had set the billing arrangement to be fixed fee, either time and expense or time only, your only option in the billing template was the fixed fee templates that came out of the box. They had slightly different settings in that template, and we were locking you into using that specific template. And we've now opened it up where you can use any billing template you have available, even if the billing arrangement is fixed fee. I know not a lot of people use the fixed fee billing arrangement. It is a nice tool. And again, we won't go into too many details, but if you do choose fixed fee time and expense, then you can set up in your matter plan. Oh, let me make sure I save this. You can set up in your matter plan milestone billing that can happen. You go over here and click on new milestone and make it a billable milestone with a certain amount of money. And you can give it a date. And then when you go to create invoices for a date range that includes this date, it'll automatically generate a fixed fee invoice for you. And again, if you have any other questions about how to go about doing the fixed fee billing, our support people would be more than happy to help you. But the main takeaway here is we have the ability now to assign any type of billing template to matters that have the billing arrangement of fixed fee. Okay. Any questions on that? Super. I don't see any questions coming through. Well, hey, guess what? We've already gotten through everything. I told you this was going to be a little bit of a lighter Wednesday webinar. So that is, we don't have any other topics that I planned on covering today. I do want to remind everyone, if you are so interested, if you are a firm that has to do any type of leads billing, then we are conducting a webinar next Thursday on August 19th to go through some of the specific features that TimeSolv has to make leads billing a little easier on your life. So let me quickly bring up that registration page, and I'll put it in the chat here for everybody. Again, as a firm owner or admin, you probably got an email from me today about this webinar, but let me go ahead and bring this up anyway. So here's the URL. Leads billing features you never knew you needed. And I'm going to show you my surfboards. No, I'm going to put that in the chat. I'm putting this in the live chat there, so you have that URL that if you're interested, you can join us for this webinar. We'll be going over three main things. And I've gone over this topic before about task code groups. It's a new feature. It's a fantastic feature for those that have to do leads billing. Creating a budget ahead of time. I know a lot of leads billing requirements include having to submit a budget before you start the work. How you can do that with a task code type budget in TimeSolv. And then just best practices on the type of language to make sure you're using, or more importantly, I guess, not using when creating time entries that if anybody's done leads billing in the past, you've probably seen entries that get rejected for one reason or another. Oftentimes it's because of the type of language that is used in the time entry description. So we'll talk about some of the best practices around ensuring that your invoices don't get rejected when you submit them to the variety of leads portals that are out there. So just a little plug for that webinar. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, you can email us, support@timesolv.com. You can call us on support. There's the 1-800 number, extension 2. And if you have any suggestions on the improvements we can make to TimeSolv, you can go to timesolv.ideas.aha.io. And I know a few people are asking, what is leads billing? Leads billing is one of those things where if you don't know it, you just don't know anything about it. If you do have to do it, it is a pain. It is essentially submitting an electronic invoice via you're submitting a invoice file, like a text file. And lead stands for, I believe, legal exchange data. Oh gosh, so I can't remember what does lead stand for. It's a universally accepted way to submit invoices. This is mainly for a type of companies that are firms that have to do insurance defense, and they have to submit their invoices to insurance companies. So the insurance companies and a lot of medical companies do this too. They make you submit your invoices through these electronic portals. And there's about, I don't know, like 100+ different types of portals out there that insurance companies can use. And so you have to submit these invoices in a very specific way. Legal Electronic Data Exchange Standard, that's what LEAD stands for. So it is a universally accepted way to submit electronic invoices. If you don't have to do it, thank your lucky stars. If you do, that's where tools like TimeSolv can come in and make your life a lot easier. And that's some of the things that we'll cover. So for those that ask that question, just feel lucky you don't have to do leads billing. All right, unless there's any other questions, like I said, I will send out a email with the recording, link to the recording here. We'll get it on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We always want to be here to help you and help improve TimeSolv. So thank you all so very much. And we will see you. Let's see, what day will we see you in September? I can't believe I'm going to say September. September 8th, Wednesday, September 8th is when our next Wednesday webinar will be. I believe you guys all know where you can sign up for it, the webinar, since you are here at this webinar. You can go to our support page, and there's a place where we have weekly training. We call it weekly trainings link, but because we do a number of other weekly trainings, but the Wednesday webinar registration is in there as well. So take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, a great rest of your August. Stay happy and healthy, and we'll talk to you in September. Thanks, everybody.